Okay, so the next technique you're going to practice is called wet on wet. And what you're going to do is come up and grab a small piece of this 80-pound paper, and then grab a board, and let me know if you need help finding a board. They're usually under the window or under my office window, but we'll see. Now with watercolor, for this project, it's not super important what you're doing right now, but I just want you to get in the practice of it. With watercolor, you actually need to tape down your paper to a board because it will start to warp, okay? And then it makes it hard to paint. So you're going to come up and you're going to tape a border, okay? And then again, grab a paint tray and a couple of brushes. That way you have a variety of size. All right, so this is called wet on wet. And here's what you do. First, what you need to do is you need to wet your entire piece of paper. That is going to allow for the watercolor to bleed. So next time I'm going to show you dry on dry, but today we're doing wet on wet. Okay, so I've wet down my water paper. Typically you'll see a watercolor artist use a big, giant, just fat brush and just douse their watercolor paper. Watercolor paper tends to be pretty heavy, so it can hold the water. All right, so now what I'm going to do is, it doesn't matter, I'm just going to pick a color. So I'm going to load up. Now, wet on wet means I'm using my watercolor pretty wet as well. Like, I'm not really drying my brush off. And I'm going to go right in here, and you can see my paper's kind of drying fast because this kind of paper does. I'm just going in here and I'm laying some dots in. Whoops. Okay, now I'm going to rinse my brush off just because I'm going to switch colors, but I'm going to keep it really wet. I'm not dipping it. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to choose green. Now I'm going to come right up here next to my orange, and I'm going to see what happens when I have wet paper, highly loaded pigment on my paper, on my paintbrush, and I come up next to another color. So I'm just going to experiment with that all over. So this is called the wet on wet technique. And you can you don't have to just only do dots. You can so this is just a practice. I want you to see what happens when you, and do you like that effect? Do you like the look when you're getting two very loaded up colors next to each other on wet paper? And do you like that? It's called, a lot of times we call it bleeding. You like that effect. So go ahead and fill in your whole paper, just kind of experimenting with that. Okay. Again, make sure when you're done, take a picture of it, put it into the classroom assignment for watercolor painting.